welcome to the OklaRoots YouTube channel. In today's embroidery tutorial, we are going through the August perfectly pieced box, and I'm going to be unboxing the little goodie box, and we're going to talk about a project that is so stinking cute, you guys. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the perfectly pieced box is from Me Time Delivered, and it is a monthly subscription. Now, you can either do the physical box, which is what I do, so every month I get this beautiful orange box. I have a stack of these that I use for storing all kinds of things. But every month you get a box full of goodies, thread, fabric, notions, and then a printout of the embroidery tutorial pattern for that month. However, if you don't need all the extra goodies, you don't have to do the physical box. You could do just the digital file every month. So I'll have a link down below if you want to go check it out. And so if you have all your own fabric, you can just do the digital version. And I'm going to show you, I have not opened this box yet, but I did do the project that I'm going to show you today, and it is so stinking cute. I used my own material for this. You guys, it's just so sweet. So just as a quick recap, the perfectly pieced monthly box is for like a quilt block. It's making a quilt block on an embroidery machine. It's so cool. It does all the piecing, it does all the quilting. Like it's so cool to do this. However, they also offer a lot of different projects, all kinds of projects. And the project that really spoke to me was the one using the 8-inch block. However, once I opened it, I realized it also has instructions using the 4-inch block. So today I'm going to show you how to make this using the 4-inch block. This is a cute little apple, and it's a coaster. You guys, look at this. So can you see? I know my fabric all kind of comes together, but this is not the fabric from the box. This is my own personal stash fabric and ribbon. This is a little apple, and this is a little coaster. So this is made using the 4-inch block size, which I can make on my little embroidery machine that I use on my tabletop. However, if you have an embroidery machine that can make a bigger block, like the 8-inch block, you can make a much bigger version of this, and it's a trivet, and I want to make it so bad because it's so stinking cute. I love this. This is entirely done on an embroidery machine, guys. All of it. All of it. None of it is using a sewing machine. It's all done on my embroidery machine. So we're going to open up the box, and we're going to make another one of these cutie little coasters here because I can't get enough of it. It is an apple. I know I used like strawberry fabric on it, but it is an apple, and it's so cute. It's got a little leaf here. It's kind of hard to see on mine because I wasn't so smart with my placement of my material. However, we're going to use the material from the box, and we're going to see how that turns out. I'm really excited about this. I want to make a whole bunch of these. How cute is this? This would be, you know what, if you made like 4 of these, and then also if you could make the larger version, the trivet size version, and it's a back to school teacher gift, because apples and teachers, we all know teachers love apples, right? That's a thing. You can make a bunch of these for going back to school for the teachers. I might do that. That is so cute. Okay. Too many ideas. So like I said, if you're interested in checking out Perfectly Pieced, I will have a link down in the description of this video. If you're new to the OklaRoots YouTube channel, please consider clicking subscribe down below. If at any point you like this video, please give it a like. Any questions, comments, shoutouts, anything at all, leave them down in the comment section. Let me know what you're doing with these blocks. All right, guys, let's open up this box and let's make this cute little apple coaster. Let's get started. All right, let's start by opening up this month's box. So you see we have Perfectly Pieced August 2023. I'm already loving the colors. And on the back here, it's just gonna give you some tips of different items that are gonna help you with this and also what's inside the box. So first, let's look at the fabric. The fabric is always like, it's the meat and the potatoes of the box, right? It's the best part. Oh my goodness, I'm loving these colors. Guys, back to school. This is such a back to school color palette, isn't it? Look at how beautiful all these fabrics are. You have, oh my gosh, look at these. It's got little bugs all over it. Like little moths. Oh, I love that. This is such a good color palette. There's just like so many different kind of moods you could set with this. Like really calm with the blue, a lot more earthy with the browns and the greens. I love this. This is gonna be fun. Okay, next we have our thread. Every month there is another thread. So after a few months of this, you actually start accumulating a beautiful assortment of thread colors, which is so handy when you're embroidering because every time you have an embroidery project and you just don't have the color you need, it's very frustrating. So this is Glide thread, and it's the color Smoke. Ooh, I like that. Next, we have a beautiful little pin. That's so cute. Look at the little pin. And then we have a little bit of ribbon. Now this ribbon is what we're gonna be using for the stem. So this is if you're gonna be using the trivet or the little coaster, which is what we're gonna be doing today. And you see we have a cute little stem here. You want a nice small ribbon, like 5/8 of an inch wide or smaller. I wouldn't do like an inch wide ribbon. That would be too big for this. But so it has some ribbon to go with it, or you can use your own ribbon. And then this looks like we have some insulated batting, which is what we're going to be using. I didn't use insulated batting for this one. I used just regular quilt batting, so it is up to you. Insulated batting is obviously best if you're gonna be using this for hot items, especially the trivet. You're gonna be putting a hot, pan or something on it. you want some insulated batting to protect the countertops and your table and things like that. So insulated batting, and these look like it's big enough for you to make a couple of the trivets, which is really cool. And then finally, you have a printout with instructions for the quilt block. As you can see, there are 4 sizes, a 2-inch, 4-inch, 6-inch, and 8-inch block size. This is going to be dependent on what type of project you want to do. I usually go for the 2 or the 4-inch ones because that is the size that my embroidery machine that I use can handle. However, if you have an embroidery machine that can do the bigger ones, then you have more options. For the coaster, we're going to be doing the 4-inch size, but if you wanted to make the trivet version, you're going to use the 8-inch size. All right, here's a bunch of the other things I'll be using today. My hoop size is a 5x7-inch hoop size. That will fit the 4x4 block. It will not fit the 6x6-inch block because it's just too big. So I can only go to the 2-inch or the 4-inch block size with this hoop size. And then I have some tearaway stabilizer. Now, this is not the preferred stabilizer for these quilt blocks. The preferred stabilizer is actually this Kimberbell Ultra Light Mesh Cutaway. I'm very, very low on this. I don't have much. I don't think I have enough for the project today. So I'm just gonna use what I have. I'm using the tearaway, but a mesh cutaway that's very lightweight is preferred for these quilt blocks. And then I just have some scissors to cut out the apple shape in the end. I'll show you that. And then my embroidery scissors, you always want scissors like this. They have a nice curve. We're gonna be trimming very close to the block. You don't want scissors like this to do that. You want the curved embroidery scissors. If you're doing embroidery, you need these scissors. Next, I have a small cut of batting, and the size of this batting is going to depend on the size of the block you're using. Actually, I don't know if I'll use the batting since I have the insulated batting. I might use the insulated batting instead. My bobbin thread is bottom line, so that's what I use down at the bottom. I like bottom line because there's a lot of different colors. Usually bobbin thread is just, you know, white or black. We don't need a colorful bobbin thread for these projects. However, if you have other in the hoop embroidery projects where you're gonna see the bottom thread in the end, having colorful bottom thread is nice. And then the Kimberbell paper tape, we will be using that today to hold especially the ribbon in place. And the other 2 major things are my embroidery machine and my little iron. So a tiny iron is a necessity. The big iron is just not gonna work with my hoop size. So I like this little small Cricut iron. And then my embroidery machine of choice is the Brother PE800. This is a very, very easy to use. Just plug it in and start using it. Embroidery machine. You don't have to be finicky with it. You don't have to like be a professional embroidery machine servicer in order to use it. So that's the machine I'll be using today. I get it off of Amazon. It's an affordable starter machine, so I'll have a link down below for it. All right, so looking at our finished little project, we have to decide what pieces we want to go where. So the pieces are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the leaf. Those are the fabric pieces, and then we have the backing. So obviously, well, I don't know. I was going to say obviously for the leaf, we're going to use the green, but now I don't know. I think maybe for the leaf, I might actually use this like brownish, wineish color. So maybe that for the leaf. So the leaf and piece 5 are usually the same fabric. So I don't know if I want to do that or not. I might do that. I might change it piece 5. Okay, so piece 1 is the biggest piece. It goes right across the center right here. I want to use my little mothies for that. So this is going to be piece 1. And then piece 2 goes next to it. I'm going to use this little star speckled one there. And then piece 3 up here on the top right, I'm going to use the blue. And then piece 4 down here, I'm going to use the green. And then piece 5, yeah, I'll keep it this, and that's the leaf. So piece 5 and the leaf are going to be the same. And then the backing, I'll use this beautiful little blue cut here. I think that'll be nice. So I'm going to cut these up. The sizes of these cuts depend if you're doing the coaster size or the trivet size, so just refer to the pattern for that. The pattern for this is in the 8-inch block size folder. Whenever you download all of your files, there's different block size folders. Look at the 8-inch block size folder, and it's the project in there. Once you open that, that also has all the cut sizes for the 4-inch size. So if you get confused, if you're like, where do I find the 4-inch size stuff? It's all on the 8-inch size printout. All right, as I wait for my little iron to heat up, I'm gonna hoop my hoop. I'm gonna put my stabilizer in my hoop, and this is how I usually do it. I just lay it out. You wanna make sure you have a good amount of excess over all the edges of the hoop so that it holds it firmly in place. So I take my outer hoop, lay it right side up, take my stabilizer, lay it over it, push it down, and take the inner hoop and pop it in there. There we go. And then just make sure it's nice and flat on the back. All right, and then tighten it with your screw. All right, so now I can put this in the machine. All right, now let's prepare our back. So take your 2 back pieces of fabric and give them a good press if they're wrinkly like mine are. And then fold these so that the shorter ends, the two shorter ends, meet wrong sides together. So they're right sides out, wrong sides together, short ends meeting, and just give it a press right along that fold. Do this for both of your back pieces. Okay, so your back pieces are ready to go. Just set those to the side for now. All right, so as you can see, I have my hoop loaded into my machine. I have my new thread color already installed, and I have my design loaded on my machine. So I'm all ready to go and start making this cute little apple block. So we're gonna run step number 1, which is just gonna be the outline for our batting. Now grab your batting and place it so that the shiny side, if you're using an insulated batting, the shiny side is facing up. And make sure you cover the outline of that apple completely with your batting. If you want to use tape here to hold it in place, go ahead and do that. And then let's run step 2, which is going to stitch down our batting. Now remove the hoop from the machine, and we're going to trim down the batting. So what you want to do is just lift up the outer raw edges of your batting and just gently cut right next to the stitching. Now it doesn't have to be right at the stitching. You just want to get as close as you can to it. You don't want to accidentally cut through your stabilizer or accidentally cut through those stitches. So just be gentle here. All right, now put your hoop back in the machine and we're gonna run step 3, which is gonna be placement for all of our blocks. Now it's time to actually put the quilt block together. While you were stitching this out, you might notice that the stitching for the placements goes well beyond the actual little apple design. That's because the stitch out is for the full block size. So this full block size is 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches. However, we're not making the full block, but we're using that full block to make the apple. So if you're like, that's a lot bigger, how is this apple gonna work? This extra bit around the apple doesn't get included in the final design. So now we're gonna grab fabric piece number 1 and we're gonna lay this one right side up. This is the only one we lay right side up with the quilt block. So make sure you know where fabric 1 placement is. It's going to be the second from the left, this nice big piece right here. And you want to completely cover the bottom edge and then the sides and the top. Now, if it doesn't reach all the way up to this top corner over here, that's okay, because again, this is not going to be included in the final design. But just do your best to make sure it's completely covering that section. I'm going to give it a little press because mine's a little creakly. And now if you want to use tape here to hold this in place, tape it down. But we're going to put this back in the machine and we're going to run step 4, which is going to be the placement line for the next piece of fabric. All right, removing the hoop, we're going to just trim off any excess on the right side of that stitching. So I'm just going to lift up the fabric and trim off the overhang because we don't need that. And now we're going to grab fabric piece number 2 and we're going to lay that right side down over fabric piece number 1. And we're gonna line up the long edge of fabric 2 with that stitching that we just made. Now we're gonna run the 5th stitch, which is going to stitch down fabric number 2. Once you have fabric 2 stitched down, lift up fabric 2 so it's right side up, and then just give it a gentle finger press right along that stitching, and then use your iron to flatten it out really nice. Using the iron is necessary. You need to keep these pieces as flat as possible. All right, let's put this back in the machine. We're gonna run stitch number 6, which is going to be placement for our 3rd piece of fabric. Let's take this out and we're going to pull on the little triangle bit here that's to the right of that stitch line and just lift it up and trim it down. Now grab fabric number 3 and lay it right side down over fabric 2, lining up the long edge of fabric 3 with that stitch line you just made. And now let's run stitch 7, which is going to stitch fabric number 3 in place. Now flip fabric 3 over so it's right side up, give it a finger press along that seam, and then grab your iron and press using your iron. All right, next step is going to be stitching down placement for our 4th cut of fabric. And then this time, any material that's overhanging on the left side, this is fabric 1 again, just trim that down. And now let's grab fabric 4 and lay it right side down over fabric 1. Long edge of fabric 4 lines up with that stitch line, and then just run the next step, which is going to stitch fabric 4 in place. Now take fabric 4, flip it right side up, once again finger press, and then press with your iron. It always looks like a mess at this point. It's like, how is this going to look good? This is so messy. That's how it is. That's how it always is. It's the magic of how this works. So now let's run the next stitch, which is going to provide placement for this bottom piece, fabric 5. All right, now removing this, you can just kind of gently cut in to all the fabrics to trim down any overhang that's below that stitch line. And once you have that trimmed in place, grab fabric 5, lay it right side down over all the pieces, alongside matching up with the stitch line you just made. And now let's stitch down fabric piece 5. Now take fabric 5 and flip it right side up, finger press, and press with your iron. This would be essentially where you would start making the quilt block if you were just using the regular quilt block file. Now remember, the embroidery file I'm using is not the quilt block file. It is for the project. It's for the 4-inch apple. So we're going to be moving on using the apple steps. This is not going to be the same as if you were just doing the quilt block. So we're going to run the next step, which actually would be the same if you were using the quilt block. But the next step is just going to create the outer 4.5 inch square, which is the finished size of the quilt block. But after that, we're moving on to the apple steps. All right, the next step, which is step 13, is going to be placement for our leaf. All right, once you have placement for your leaf marked, grab your leaf material and you're gonna lay it right side up and just completely cover that design. Grab some tape if you need to so it doesn't move, and let's put this back in the machine and stitch down the leaf in place. Once you have the leaf stitched, you're going to just trim off any excess material. Now for this one, we do want to get as close to the stitches as we can. So take your time to really lift the fabric up and slide your scissors right next to those stitches. So now we're going to do stitch number 15, which is the decorative leaf stitch outline. After that, run stitch 16, which is the leaf quilting design. And then stitch 17 is the apple quilting design. So this will stitch the outline of the apple as well as the quilting design that goes inside of it. Now that we have the quilting done, we're gonna do the construction of our little coaster. So the next step is going to provide placement for where we're gonna put our stem. Once you have the very small little line, it's hard to see. Once you have the small line, you're gonna grab your ribbon and you're gonna fold your ribbon in half. Now my ribbon is 5/8 of an inch wide and it's about 3 inches long. This is also where I'm going to grab some tape. We want to tape this down. The raw edge of your ribbon, so the 2 raw edges of your ribbon, should go above that tiny stitch line that's your placement for your ribbon by about 1/4 inch. You don't have to measure it, about 1/4 inch. If it's a little more, that's okay. All right, so just do your best to get it over the placement line, extending about 1/4 inch, and tape it down. Now let's stitch this ribbon in place. Okay, I like to remove the tape from the ribbon for the next step. Now grab your 2 backing pieces. So we're gonna take one backing piece. The raw edges are gonna be on the left. The fold goes towards the center. I'm just gonna line up the raw edges with the left outer stitch line here. So that rectangle we made, I'm just lining up the raw edges with that rectangle and making sure that I'm covering the top and the bottom of the rectangle as well. There we go. And then I'm gonna take my other piece, and again, folded side goes in towards the center, and the raw edges are gonna line up with that rectangle line over here on the right. And again, making sure we're completely covering everything. They should overlap each other by about 1 inch. And then we're going to tape these down. So you wanna tape them everywhere, all 4 raw edges, and also where they overlap here in the center. You don't want any of this moving around. If you stitch over the tape, that's fine. You can easily pull this tape out. So lots of tape here. So now we're gonna run the final step, which is going to be stitching the final outline stitch. And this is the shape of our apple, the completed step. All right, your embroidery is now done. We can take this out of the hoop. And let's first work on getting all this tape out. So I have a good amount of tape in my seams, so I'm just gonna rip it out real quick. All right, once you have the tape done, grab your fabric scissors. We're gonna cut into this, and we're gonna cut just outside of that final stitch line by about 1/4 inch. I just eyeball it. If it's a little less than 1/4 inch, that's fine. You just don't want it to be too big. So once you have it all cut out, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut little tiny snips into the seam. The cuts go close to the stitches, but they don't touch the stitches. We're not cutting any of our stitching. These little tiny slits allow the fabric to fold over itself and in on itself, and it just allows the curves to show up in the end. If you don't do something like this, and especially if your seam allowance is bigger, those curves just can't pop out in the end, and you don't end up with a shape that looks like an apple. So just little tiny slits, just so that it can kind of breathe. Once you're done with that, carefully turn your apple right side out through the hole in the back. Well, this is looking so cute. This is one of those projects where you don't see what it looks like at all until it's done. It all looks like a mess for most of the time. And then once it's all done and you turn it out, it's like, oh my gosh, that's adorable. Look how cute this is. Oh, I love it. Now, you can give it a final press if you'd like, but if you clipped into your seams really well, you really don't need it. Look at how adorable my little apples are. Wouldn't this be great for teachers? I love teachers. End of summer, guys. I am missing the teachers. I hope you love making this. These are so cute. Look at my happy little apple collection here. I want to make so many of these. How great of a scrappy project is this? Especially if you have just so many scraps. This is, again, I know I keep saying back, come on, it's an apple, guys. Of course we're going to say teachers. Let your kids, if you're doing it for teachers, let your kids go to town on your fabric stash. Let them go through the scrap bucket and pick out all their favorite scraps and stuff like that so they can make a couple little coasters for all of their new teachers. I think that this is such a cute idea. And it doesn't take very long. It's very, very quick with your embroidery machine. It's very quick, very simple. You can get everybody involved. And they're just so stinking cute. I cannot get over how cute these little guys are. I hope you guys love making this as much as I do. Thank you as always to Me Time Delivered for sponsoring today's Perfectly Pieced video. If you guys join in, I hope you love it. I love it. It gives me my little creative quilting sojo because I don't get to quilt as much as I'd like. So I get to do a little bit of quilting each month, a little bit of embroidery each month, and then it comes together in a really adorable project. So I hope you guys love it. I hope you're having a great day. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Get out there and make something. Bye, guys.